What's going on, y'all? I want to give you my review of the Waves NX Ocean Way Nashville. This is a plugin that Waves claims will allow you to mix better on headphones. So what this does is it puts you in the space of Ocean Way Studio A in your headphones. So what you hear in your headphones should be an accurate representation of what Ocean Way Studio A control room sounds like. So I picked this up because Waves gave me an offer for $29 because I'm an NX owner, and I went ahead and purchased it. I do not have any intentions on mixing in headphones. I never have, at least never for a client. But I found this plugin interesting because I'm in Nashville and I've used Control Room A in Ocean Way Studio A a couple times. Once was a microphone shootout, and I was invited to a tracking session for a song that I was mixing that was recorded in Ocean Way. So, but this was so long ago that I don't remember, exactly what the room sounds like. So I can't comment on how well this plugin emulates the sound of Ocean Way. But being in Nashville and having the plugin emulating a studio in Nashville, I thought was kind of cool. So I picked it up to see really what this can do. And mixing in headphones to me is like cooking and having the ingredients but not having the recipe. I just find it be hard to know how much of what to put in, and mixing on speakers to me give you a better representation of that. But again, I was curious, so I picked this up. Let's take a closer look at it now. Because this is meant to be used with headphones, I can't let you hear its effect. I can only speak to what I've experienced with it so far. But let's take a look at the plugin. Let's go over an overview, and I'll give you my thoughts. So when you first open up NX Ocean Way Nashville, you're going to get this head tracker application pop up. And what this does is it sets the head tracking ability. So what happens is, as I move my head, it's going to change the perception that I'm hearing in the room. So for example, if I move my head to the left, I'm going to hear more sound coming out of the right because that ear is going to be more focused towards that right speaker. And you can use this with a webcam, any camera you have connected to your computer, which you just choose in the drop down here. And you also have a what's the word? Not additional, optional. You also have an optional Bluetooth tracker, which I do not have, that you can set on top of your headphones that will track your movement if you didn't want it done by camera. Okay, so here is Ocean Way Nashville. It's a very easy to use plugin, not many controls. I'll go through them pretty quickly, starting at the full left here. So you can mute the left channel, mute the right channel, or solo either one of those channels. And studio monitor, you have choice of two studio monitors here. HR5s are your near fields. Those are the ones sitting on top of the console. And HR1s are the big boys sitting up top here. Rotate studio. So this just allows you to rotate. And the sound does change as you rotate through the studio here, which you can even give it a full 360 degrees, which is kind of cool. You see the rack of gear that we have there. Let me see what Tube Tech, some Focusrite stuff. But you can option click this to get that right back in the middle. Below here, this is where you turn your head tracking on and off. And ambient. So for it to most accurately capture the sound of this room, Waves recommends that you leave this at 100%, but you do have the option to add less or more ambience here. And you can see here in the middle, this is what the head tracking is saying. I do find that it lags sometimes, but you can see as I move my head, it's tracking it. Far right here, so on the left is your input, and of course on the right is your output, and this level controls the output of what you're getting in the headphones here. Headphone EQ. You've got a list of, I guess, maybe about 10 popular headphones here. I still feel like it's missing some of the other popular ones here, but if your headphone is listed here, feel free to select it. If not, it's not a big deal. You can just leave this at none. And the head modeling, so I did take a tape measure and measure my head to enter the values in here, and the manual will help you with that. But once you put in your measurements here, you can select this drop down and go save. Set current settings as default. So every time you open it, it'll open to these same settings that I changed them to, which were slightly different from what the default was at first. Okay, so my overall thoughts of this. So listening to this and bypassing it, this definitely has a sound and definitely has the sound of it being in a space, which is pretty cool. But will it help me mix better on headphones? That I cannot answer. What I'm going to do, though, to determine this is I'm going to mix a song on speakers, and then I'm going to wait a month or so when I've kind of forgotten all that I've done, and I'm going to start from scratch on that same mix and mix it using this plugin. And we'll see which one of those comes out better. I think that'll be a good challenge to kind of help to determine on the usefulness of this plugin. And again, I don't have any intentions on mixing on headphones, so this is something that I'm really going to use a lot, if any. I mentioned earlier that I do have the Waves NX and I've never used it. I really just bought it. It was another $29 offer, and I just bought it because I said, well, what if one day I need to mix on headphones? I'd be prepared for that. And speaking of the NX, I did compare the NX to Ocean Way Nashville, and I do prefer Ocean Way Nashville to NX. It's just the space that it sounds in is I don't want to just say it's cool, but it's definitely something different than just monitoring on headphones. I mean, you definitely hear the effect. I will say I don't hear much of a difference switching between the HR5s and HR1s, but just putting this plug-in on your main output and monitoring through it, it gives you the effect that you are in a space, like you can hear the ambience around you, which is the point. Lastly, one thing that I do want to mention is that you will need to remember to bypass this before you make your final bounce or before you bounce your mix. This is not supposed to be active when you're exporting your mix. So remember to turn that off before you mix. I've already made that mistake already and have almost sent it to a client when I was testing this out on a mix that I'm working on. But that's my review of Ocean Way Nashville. I will have a link in the description if you want to learn more or check out this plugin. And any questions, comments, let me know, and I'll catch y'all next time. I want to invite you to check out my podcast, the Faders Up Podcast, where we discuss pro audio and beyond. We discuss everything from recording to gear to the music business. So if you're an audio engineer, songwriter, recording artist, music producer, this podcast is for you. We recently started season 2, and we're going to have a lot of listener questions on this season, as well as some really cool guests that's lined up and giveaways as well. So if you've already subscribed and followed the podcast, thank you. If you haven't, it's available on all platforms, and I encourage you to check it out. Also, rate it and review it and let us know what you think.